today I figured we would look at window customization in Tauri. For those of you who watched my previous stream on making your CLI, you'll notice that I skipped all the way to the bottom. That's because some of these will be bigger topics and I didn't feel like making them today. Anyway, window customization. Tauri provides lots of options for customizing the look and feel of your app's window. You can create custom title bars, have transparent windows, enforce size constraints, and more. There are 3 ways to change the window customization: through Tauri conf JSON, through the JS API, or through the window in Rust. Creating a custom title bar. A common use of these window features is creating a custom title bar. This short tutorial will guide you through that process. Let's follow along that process. So first, we'll go to projects and just list everything in here, so I know what I can pick. Let's just remove Tauri app. I don't believe we did anything important in there. We will take that command and we will create Tauri app. We will use pnpm vanilla TypeScript. We will open the Tauri app. Then we will go to github.com/simonhill/dev container. This is my dev container that I use for honestly most of my projects, and if they don't use this exact container, they use a variant of it. You can look it up and see how it's used yourself, but basically just going to copy that command for now. Alright, it has some stuff cached from when from the previous time we had this repository. So we're just gonna run that command, git submodule add, after we initialize our git repository. This will give us the dev container submodule and add it as a submodule. I didn't specify the proper branch, so let's cd into dev container and do git checkout v1. Now we're on the version 1 branch of my dev container. The default one is version 2 because most of what I do is for version 2. But this one we made for version 1. So now that we have the dev container, we can open folder in the container. And this should build and mount everything automatically. Unless there, as usual, are problems whenever I try to do thing on stream. God damn it. You know what, we're just gonna use my solution that always works, or usually works, which is just running VSL shutdown. And then we wait for a few seconds on the other screen that you can't see until Docker Desktop asks to restart. We tell it to restart. It's up and running, so we reload the window. Open folder in dev container. There we go. I should probably just always do this before I do a stream. But yeah, let's do cargo Tauri dev. Actually, no. First we're gonna do pnpmi. And we're going to add pnpm store. Then we're going to curse the fact that Rust Analyzer works the way it does, because this will be blocking now. There shouldn't be any missing dependencies here. What's going on? So we're on version 1. With libsoup. They didn't tell me that was a dependency on the documentation. Or in the documentation. Besides, I ran this yesterday and it worked. Like this exact setup. What the hell? Just gonna run it one more time. Apt install libsoup. Apt search libsoup. Da, 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 2.4. Yeah, sudo apt install libsoup 2.4-dev. One of the nice things with having added this to as a submodule is that this is all I need to do in order to make a commit. Actually, let's first verify that that fixes it. A JavaScript GTK core should already be installed. This is really weird because that means that the container used this is definitely using an outdated container or something along those lines, because if it doesn't have those two dependencies, something has gone wrong. Then it probably won't have all the other dependencies either. It shouldn't need to have libsoup. Or libweb. Like, this is literally what I just installed. So we're gonna chuck this up to being a caching issue with the dev container. Why it happened, I do not know. Oh, Lorenzo. Come on, little dev container. There we go. No idea why specifically those two dependencies weren't in there. It's very mysterious, but anyway. Now we can not press enter, but we can press the button manually and we are greeted. So, now that we have a minimal project set up, let's go back to the documentation and see what's up with customizing your title bar. You'll need to add some CSS to the title bar to keep it at the top of the screen and style the buttons. Let's copy paste this. And our styles are right in here, so we're just gonna go ahead and add that at the bottom. And as for the HTML, we're just gonna copy that. And if someone hasn't set this up properly to just be copy pasted, that's not my fault. JS, finally you import the buttons to make it work. Let's import the buttons to make it work. Do they want me to do that? Yeah. why are you adding? I was hoping that would satisfy it. Ah well. It doesn't actually crash just because you do that, it just complains. As you can see, lo and behold, we actually do have buttons. They don't do anything, however. Why aren't they doing anything? So we're looking for title bar minimize, for example, and according to our index.html, title bar minimize. Yeah, that seems fine. Add on a click, yeah. Well, shall we just do that? I mean, it says that it's working, so let's try just reloading and see if we get anything different. No. What is the error we're getting? Window maximize, minimize, unmaximize is not in the allow list, so that is good. No. This means that I have a little bit of yeah. This really good that it's in there. I would argue though that it should be further up. Possibly the first thing you add, just so that people don't copy this part and try to click buttons and it doesn't work because of this. It's not a huge deal, but because I mean it is already in there. It's just the ordering could be better. Allow list. Oh. Which ones did they want? Start dragging. Actually, I've said it before, and this should be copy pastable, and so I'm going to just copy paste. Sometimes it crashes. I'm not entirely sure why, but it only happens when you reload too many times. And oh look, Rust Analyzer woke up and decided to ruin my day again. Wonderful. Keep blocking my build. I swear to God, Rust Analyzer. I know Rust and I won't hesitate to make you obsolete. You know what? Screw you, Rust Analyzer. Ah, how do you like that? Two can play that game. You block me, I block you. Alright, now we should have functioning buttons, and yep, those buttons are indeed working. We can even move around with that one. Last step we wanted to add from the documentation is disabling decorations. Disabling decorations, as you can see, removes everything around your window. So now this appears as it should, as if it were your own entirely custom title bar. This, by the way, is basically how most apps do it nowadays, even if you see something that looks native. Usually what they'll have done is just fake that it looks native. You know, just like I believe Discord does it. I believe, I mean, even the Explorer window. Like this, I'm fairly sure that they've just faked this, because you don't need much just to fake it. Part of why I believe they faked it is because look at this. There's a gap between them. Like, why would there be a gap between them? There's no gap here. Why is there a gap here? I'm pretty sure that would also explain why their new Explorer app for Windows 11 is so laggy. But yeah, that's window customizations, but this is a little bit too short and a bit too basic, because all I've done is follow the guide, which this time at least it was a bit better structured. Only critique this time is that this one should be further up. well, not the only critique, because the other critique I have is that we're specifically saying through the window in Rust, you can customize it as well. I mean, yes, you can, but not to this degree. You can do these things. You can replace the JS with Rust, but you still have to do these things unless you get really hacky with it. And anyway, more window customizations. We need to get something more fun in here. Drag the guides. Let's see. So we want the shadow plugin. Although actually the shadow plugin for you won't be able to see it, but I can show you how to add it at least. So Tauri plugins. Let's see. Do we have them in here? No, we don't. Awesome Tauri. So if you're ever wondering if there's something cool you can add to your Tauri project that you don't have to make yourself, look at this plugins page. Here we have window shadows. And the reason I want to add that is because, as you can see, there's no shadow next to this window. It doesn't look very native. And the big reason why it doesn't look native is because it's not, it doesn't have the shadows. So this crate will add window shadows. So what we do is we look it up on crates.io. It's called window shadows. Very simply. So we're going to add window shadows equals, I believe it was 0.2. Yes, 0.2. And again, it can fail sometimes when it's reloading, or in this case, it found that there were issues with the cargo tunnel. I agree, Lorenzo, we should probably add those two crates. Yeah. So next step we want to do is we want to open a source, and we want to take that. Now we're going to add a setup function. So you might be wondering now where we get the window from, and we get the window from let window equals app. Of course, since I disabled analyzer, my worst enemy, we don't get completion anymore. But for some reason they decided to make an extension that you have to keep enabling and disabling for it to be, for it to not bother the heck out of you. Come on. Fine, I'll look it up myself. God, can't let me be lazy for a single. Something like get window. Yeah, it's literally get window. I do think that yeah, it's an option, so we have to unwrap it. Quick note here on unwrapping. If it returns an option, assume that the developer that returned an option did it for a reason. In this case, it's because what if we don't find a get window? Then it returns none, and then you will have a break at runtime. And we don't want that. This is just complaining that I don't do that. This, no method get window found from mutable app. This is sometimes fixed by just using use manager. Yep. So it might seem weird that suddenly it finds get window just because I added use Tauri manager, but it basically helps the compiler find the proper function. As you can see here as well, this is grayed out, and that's because this config, make sure that this is only applied on Mac and Windows. And we're not gonna remove this to make it happen on Mac, because it can't happen on Mac. Because as they describe in the documentation, set window is only available on Windows and Mac OS. If you want it for Linux, you're gonna have to make contributions to this project. I can run this, but you won't actually see anything, unfortunately. And I actually think that this has to be at the top. Yeah. So, as you can see, it works, which means that as far as we know, it works. You can't see the shadow, but it's there. If you're on Mac or Windows, it will have a shadow there. The next one that we can do is window vibrancy. Now, once more, Linux is unsupported, which means that this is another thing that you won't be able to see. Really annoying, but that's what it's like developing inside a dev container. You don't get all the fancy stuff because a lot of the fancy stuff is only available on Mac and Windows. But I'll show you how to add it. Crates.io, same thing as the other one. Find window vibrancy, and this one is 0.3. Add that to cargo toml, 0.3. And we can check their instructions. So they want to do the following in the main RS file. So we add that, and we have to add this somewhere at the top. So now, if this project had been running on Mac or Windows, we would be seeing window vibrancy as well, in addition to the shadows. But we don't, because Mac, or Linux I mean. I don't like the looks of that. So you can't see it right now, I believe. Yeah, you can actually see the window, but it's unresponsive. That's not good. So we're going to have to figure out what is actually locking that up. There's a lot of node processes here, way more than I would have expected. There definitely is an issue with threads being kept alive. No idea which one of these processes it might be. It might be, could be the bash process, but let's just rebuild container. Please tell me that it makes it exit. No, of course not. Makes me question whether or not it's actually more VSL related. It may be. So maybe if we run up in here. I wonder if we can find anything here that says, gives us a clue what it might be. This window is still alive, so something is keeping that happening. But nope. Well, I guess the user should. No, it wouldn't be. Cargo Tauri. Shut up. God. Well, at least we can see a window while we're waiting. Hopefully this will pop up another window and I can just ignore this issue, so I don't have to restart VSL again. In general, I would recommend developing on your host system over using dev containers when you're making desktop apps. The dev container hasn't been very stable for me when it comes to Linux development like this. Plus, as I said before, most of this fun, nice stuff is only available on Windows or Mac OS. Linux generally doesn't get as much love, not because we necessarily down prioritize Linux. It's more related to Linux being way harder to support when there's so many different versions of it. Okay, now we have, it says that it's running, but I'm not getting a new window. So, last resort is VSL shutdown. And that did kill the window. So now we just gotta make sure that Docker desktop restarts. Code projects Tauri app. In defense of Tauri here, while there might be some issue with the CLI, most of this is just related to dev container usage. I know that most other people on the team don't really use dev containers when developing. So issues like this for the CLI, for example, aren't going to be found very quickly by the team. Yes, Rust Analyzer was terminated quick enough. So now we have a responsive window again, and as you can see, it works. You just can't see how it was made fancier by what we just did. And yeah, there's not really much else to show you in terms of window customization, apart from maybe we can start Rust Analyzer again, and we can maybe let that run for a second. Of course it's blocking now. Rust Analyzer, you are such a bitch. Come on, Rust Analyzer. I know you can offer. There we go. Now let's see. So, other customizations you can make is stuff like you can center the window and things like that, but the most customization you'll have is if you're using the window builder. And maybe I can show off how to make a window builder, unless that's actually maybe part of the multi-window tutorial. Yep. So this is how you would make a window builder, and since that's in another feature, we'll go over that there instead. So yeah, I think that pretty much does it for window customization as a feature. So last segment, just like last time, critique on the documentation. The CSS and the HTML, that works just fine. JS also works just fine, as is. The only problem is that when you've copied the CSS, nothing happens. That's fine. Or kind of fine. When you copy the HTML, you get something visible. You understand why it doesn't work. So you move on to JS. The problem is here people expect things to work. They start clicking buttons and they don't know why until they check the dev tools. Not everyone knows how to get into the dev tools, which is just Control-Shift-I, but it does normally take a few seconds before people realize that they have to follow the tutorial through all the way to the end to make it work. I would suggest we put Tauri-conf JSON at the very top. Then we do the HTML, because then something is visible immediately. Then you get the CSS to upgrade it further to make it look nice. And last thing we do is the JS. So move this one. This should be number 1 to copy paste. This should be number 2 to copy paste, 3 to copy paste, 4 to copy paste. Other than that, the only last critique maybe would be there's no link to the configuration that this refers to. When we were looking at making your own CLI, we at least had a link that tries to help you, even though, again, doesn't go to the right place. For window customization, there's no link to the configuration, but we do mention making configurations here. This just links to the JS API, which is good as well, but and even this, I mean, this links you forward to the allow list, which, surprisingly enough, is actually linking us to what I believe to be the correct place. No, it actually isn't, because this links you to the allow list in general, I believe, or it links you to the window entry in there. But I believe that it might be better to go all the way over here. Maybe. I guess that's mostly a matter of taste. But here also we have much better types than we have elsewhere. So like all over the place where we have just object. Like for the CLI config. Yeah, this is an object, but this is still not correct. It is correct, but each object within it isn't just an object. So we have work to do over here. We have work to do getting a link to the configuration directly in here. And yeah, I think I'm gonna let that be it for this little video. And I'll probably continue in a short while on one of the other features. We'll see which. So have a good one. Bye.